Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Gold Board calls minority leaders bluff over 22 billion cedi financial loss to the state, indicating his availability for a parliamentary summon.
Not a single adverse audit finding was made by the Auditor General in its 2025 audited report.
We'll bring you more of that press conference that is still ongoing. Also this afternoon, coalition of unemployed graduates with disabilities gather at Jubilee House to demand answers on what they describe as years of unfulfilled promises on employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. And much later on the program, families demand whereabouts of Ghanaians as 62 Ghanaians killed, 15 others missing after traveling to Russia amid ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, 62 Ghanaians have been killed, while 15 others remain missing after traveling to Russia amid the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa disclosed this after bilateral talks with his Russian counterpart in Moscow. The minister says Ghana has raised concerns about the alleged illegal recruitment of its citizens, particularly young people who are reportedly lured to Russia with promises of employment but subsequently enlisted into military operations. The Foreign Affairs Minister says the government is engaging Russian authorities to halt the recruitment of Ghanaian citizens into the conflict. Richard Kumado is a security consultant. He joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, Beatrice.
What does the reported killing of 62 Ghanaians and indeed the disappearance of 15 others tell us about the skill and nature of recruitment into this Russia-Ukraine war?
Definitely, wars are environments people take advantage to make economic gains. And many of our people who have been sent to Ukraine or Russia to fight, and there might be people who have no knowledge of the arrangements made for them. They might have no knowledge about the contract being signed, and they have no knowledge of the recruitment procedure. Of course, those who are military officers, we call them contractors, and they have combat experiences. So the likelihood of them being killed is a little bit lesser as compared to civilians who have less experience with using the equipment in that regard to go to the front line. It's a bit worrying, but I think it's also a case that we have a responsibility as a nation to engage our people through public education, to alert them of some of the fraudulent means people may use to lure them into situations such as the war in Ukraine and Russia.
And talking about luring, how are these recruitment networks able to lure young Ghanaians with promises of jobs and ultimately really get them into these military operations?
Because the cliff to travel abroad is very high, every opportunity presented to them, most people are likely to fall. Even when it comes to travel and holidays, some of them collected monies that they never fulfilled the promises. People get stranded. As we speak now, there's a contingency in Eastern Africa that are stranded because a travel and tour operator did not fulfill the promises. And so many of our people will not find out who is really behind this recruitment procedure, where exactly they are going, what are the opportunities being offered to them, but they will sign on and pay some level of money to them. And once you get to your final destination, the likelihood for you to be pushed into a position of vulnerability is very high. You may not have your passport, your movement will be restricted, your communications will be monitored, and they may sign fictitious and dubious contracts on your behalf and push you into a conflict you have no idea. And with a little day or 2 or 3 or weeks of training, you are being sent to the front line. The likelihood of you not making it or being wounded is very high. And that is the situation some of them find themselves.
At the end of the day, it is in Ghana's interest to want to protect its citizens. 62 dead, 15 others missing. What concrete steps do you believe the country can take to prevent further damage, as it were?
I think there are levels of it. These are people who travel voluntarily. It's not Ghana government who sent them to Ukraine or Russia. These are people who sign contracts that Ghana government have no clue. But I think because we care about the welfare of our people, charity begins at home. We might want to begin to educate our people. Learn the families are calling on the police, and the police have the capacity of arresting the perpetrators, and they must start from there. And we will all help in the public education, just like we are doing now, to create awareness of some of the dangers of traveling abroad in the name of employment, where what lies there you have no clue. So that is the best way to go, because we may not have full control over what individuals do with their lives.
Mr. Kumado, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
Richard Kumado, Foreign and Security Consultant. We're also joined by Dr. Ishmael Lobo. He's an international relations expert. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us as well.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners.
How do you see the significance of Ghana's decision to raise this matter directly with the Russian government?
Well, thank you very much. I think that is the first step in trying to address this issue, because if you look at the relation between Ghana and Russia under this current government, it is quite cordial. So I think using the bilateral channel is the appropriate channel to use. And mind you, because of quite a complicated issue, you never know who is recruiting who and at what pretense they are recruiting them. And so, but the final place they end up is in the Russian Federation. So if you engage them appropriately, that may help you to raise the issue with them and then find a mutual solution to it. So I believe that's the first step to try to address this issue with the Russian Federation. Because if you escalate it even to try and enforce it through international law, there's a few provisions that you may be looking at. And many of those are complicated. They are not direct to foreign fighters, particularly if you are not so sure the terms of the contract they enter. For instance, you may want to look at the 1989 International Convention Against the Recruitment, Use, Financing, and Training of Mercenaries. But many of these people may not fall under that, although some definition of mercenary or foreign fighters may apply to them. For instance, you are looking at somebody whose intention is purely finance. But here we are also seeing people who actually were not intending to join the military, the Russian military. So it could be complicated if you go that way. So I believe that yes, the only approach left, given the nature of the Russian Federation, is to engage them bilaterally, because they are even not a party to that convention, although we are party to it. And of course, in addressing it, you must find a way to disrupt the local network that is recruiting them. In actual fact, that local network is breaching the laws of Ghana, because if you look at the Foreign Enlistment Act 1961 at 75, you'll find out that if you, under false pretense, get somebody into a foreign army, you have actually committed a crime in Ghana. So I think that apart from the public education, the security services must go ahead and find those perpetrators, those recruitment agencies who are active in Ghana, and disrupt them. And this should be understood as part of a broader transnational crime relating to human trafficking. They are using the same method that they have used in terms of trafficking prostitutes, network trafficking children, and so forth. The same method is what they are using. So the earlier we get to work and disrupt that network, the better to be going forward.
And briefly, you heard Mr. Kumado talk about the fact that a lot of these young people are deceived into going into Russia, and then they are employed to work within the law or conflict. If indeed the government of Ghana finds out that that is the case, are there any demands that it can make of Russia?
But you can't make any demand on Russia specifically. It's quite a complex, as I said, within the international law. It would be a very complex thing to take the Russian Federation to a certain crime under international law, because you never will understand the nature of the contract they have. If assuming the person gets enlisted into the Russian army, become a regular Russian fighter before deploying to the conflict zone, then you may be able to raise a compensation claim under standard military compensation within the Russian Federation. But the nature of their deployment virtually look at people who have been smuggled, trafficked, and forced to do a particular way. If you can prove that the Russian Federation is guilty of this recruitment, then you may be able to pursue some compensation claims against them. But it will be very complex to get evidence because of the nature of their recruitment. So it is going to be complex, and so that is why perhaps the state of Ghana is pursuing the bilateral and trying to do the public education. But I think that the people that you can actually hold responsible are those local people which are within the jurisdiction, which fall actually within Ghanaian law, and Ghanaian law have quite a number of provisions that you can use to pin down those people. So yes, in terms of getting the Russian Federation to pay compensation, that will be very difficult, although not impossible. But then again, you are looking at other priorities of Ghana-Russian relations, so you may want to dialogue bilaterally and see if you can even get some compensation through the diplomatic channel.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Doc, for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
And you had Dr. Ishmael Lovo. He is an international relations expert. 11 minutes past the hour of 12. Stay with us. We'll be back with more.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. A freezer. Adama, a Kwafosemenshia. Adama. Metimoso, mas.
And you're still here on the Madani is on Sri FM 92.7. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi, has strongly denied claims that the institution made losses in its gold trading operations in 2025, describing the allegation as false when he took his turn at the Government Accountability Series on Wednesday. The minority accused the Ghana Gold Board of gross incompetence, saying its operations contributed to the Bank of Ghana's negative equity position in 2025. The caucus claims that the central bank recorded negative equity after Gold Board incurred losses amounting to 22 billion Ghana cedis from its operations. But the Gold Board CEO, Sami Gyamfi, described the allegation as, quote, a barefaced lie, unquote, and challenged the minority leader, Alexander Apenyomarkin, to produce evidence.
Not a single adverse audit finding was made by the Auditor General in its 2025 audited report on the Gold Board, not on imaginary or hallucinatory losses, not on procurement breaches or breaches of the Public Financial Management Act. Not a single adverse finding was made against the Gold Board in the report of the Auditor General on our accounts for the year 2025. The media, I humbly submit, must not condone and entertain the deliberate propagation of lies in the face of glaring evidence to the contrary. Now, friends from the media, after adducing these indisputable findings of the Auditor General to puncture the lie that the Gold Board made losses in 2025, Apenyomarkin and his associates quickly abandoned this line of attack and have now sought refuge in the recently published IMF reports on the Bank of Ghana's on Ghana's Standard Credit Facility, in which the IMF reported that the Bank of Ghana recorded a loss of $1.7 billion under its domestic gold purchase program in 2025. Their position has now conveniently changed from the old false narrative that the Good Board made losses to the new false narrative, which is that the Good Board is responsible for losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing could be further from the truth. First, nowhere in the under-referenced IMF reports is Gold Board accused by the IMF as having caused the losses reported to have been incurred by the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program. I challenge Afenyo Makin to point to any page, paragraph, sentence, phrase, or punctuation mark in the said reference reports of the IMF where the Gold Board was accused by the IMF as the entity responsible for losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, what the IMF report states is that Bank of Ghana incurred losses through the sale of gold under its domestic gold purchase program of $400 million in the year 2024 and $1.7 billion in the year 2025. And that the 2025 loss of $1.7 billion was as a result of, I'm quoting the IMF verbatim, the scaling up of the domestic gold purchase program, not incompetence or mismanagement. According to the IMF, that loss was as a result of the scaling up, the expansion of.
And I had there the CEO of the Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi. Now, this afternoon, members of the Coalition of Unemployed Graduates with Disabilities have gathered at the Jubilee House to demand action on what they describe as years of unfulfilled promises on employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. Samuel Adams is live with them. He joins live on the phone. Samuel, tell us what the current situation is. And we've lost him on the line. We'll try and connect to him and bring you the latest from there. As we do that, Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Gavin-Sagbuja, has tasked the contractor working on the Accra-Tema Motorway Extension Project, Maripoma Enterprise Limited, to do more disruptive works in the night to ensure completion of works on that critical corridor within schedule. Despite about 50% completion of work so far, he said that the inconveniences caused by ongoing construction works to the motoring public and called for increased activity on the site.
I also noticed an increase in activity on site. There's more activity on site. However, I want to encourage you to even increase that further. A project like this elsewhere will be done 24/7. There's no reason why you cannot work even more in the night than the day. So I'm encouraging you to take advantage of the president's 24-hour economy to do more of the disruptive works in the night and rather scale down during the day and make certain or dedicated lanes available for the public to use during the day. So that is very critical to us. We are hopeful that you can still complete this on schedule, because the motoring public can't understand why they have to go through this for that long period. So please endeavor to make sure that we meet the target. Yes, we have done 50% and the pavement works are quicker. I mean, the work you are doing now are the most difficult, especially in this weather. That is why we keep insisting that take advantage of the good weather and make sure we do, foundation and earthworks and other things. I know one of your strengths is earthworks. So I'm surprised you even raised it, because the bridge at, 18 Junction, by now, I was expecting that you should backfill by now. Because if you backfill, you could create a temporary access on one of those lanes whilst you switch to the other one. So please back up and do it. But obviously, generally, I can see that there has been a lot more activity than it used to be, but you can still do more to make sure that we meet the deadline.
The Roads Minister also revealed that 23 billion cedis has been committed so far by the government for road projects, saying Ghanaians will see real work by 2027 when most of them would be completed.
Government is committed, as I said earlier, government has paid over 23 billion so far on roads. And the bulk of that is arrears. Because if you notice, your project, the one at Ofankor, we inherited. But when we inherited it, there was an outstanding debt of 78 million, which we paid. That is classified either as big push or arrears. So the 23 billion is a lot of money to be paid to road contractors. It's the largest payment on capital expenditure from government. And the Ghanaian public is demanding to see what we are spending the money on. We believe by the end of 2027, it will be obvious to everybody what we spent the money on. And we are counting on you to be able to make the public proud of what we are doing as Ghanaians. Ghana cedis, 20. So it's more than the 1.7 billion that the president of Institution of Engineering is saying we shouldn't spend on the Accra Kumasi. Then let somebody tell him that we have paid almost $2 billion already to contractors. We can't spend all the money in the country on road because the other sectors, health, education, and everything, that salaries that needed to be paid. And just yesterday, government, today you saw news item, government paid the DDPE another 10 billion Ghana cedi. So we are actually paying for what matters to people, and also paying for the huge and colossal debt that was left to us. We have paid all those things on time. So President Mohammed's government is actually showing efficiency and commitment to our country, managing the economy well by the the finance minister. We are doing things better for the people of our country, and we have to be proud of ourselves. Today, those who are old know that we will pay you on time. That is what it's required. We are not going to default on our debt. We are going to pay. Also doing the things the president committed to in improving infrastructure in our country.
And you heard the roads minister, Kwame Govins Agboja. The Accra High Court has adjourned the bail application pending the appeal of former NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Wontumi to the 15th of October 2026. Lawyers of Chairman Wontumi were expected to move the bail application on Wednesday, but both lead counsel Samuel Atachia and his client were absent in court. NPP Director of Legal Affairs, Gary Nimako, was however present. The court clerk then informed the parties that the trial judge is not sitting this week due to her unavailability. Wontumi was given a 20-year jail term by the Accra High Court after he was convicted of illegal mining-related offences. Lord Adwasari is our court affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the phone. Lord, what more can you tell us?
All right, Beatrice. So basically, we're expecting that on October 15th, which will essentially be the end of the legal year, so tentatively a new legal term, Wontumi will be brought back to court for him to make that bail application pending the appeal. We know that, for example, a number of the cases at the High Court have been injuncted because of the injunction application which has been filed by the Fashion Member of Parliament, Kojo Nkuma. And we also know that that injunction application will be heard tomorrow at the Supreme Court. But quite apart from that, regarding the Wontumi case, he himself was not brought to court because what we picked was that the entirety of this week, the criminal court call, which is decided over by Justice Audrey Kokurute, where Wontumi was given the 20-year jail term, is not sitting because the trial is indisposed. And so that was the reason the case was not called or could not be heard today, Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Lord Adwasari. He's our court affairs correspondent. Now, work has resumed on sections of the Atonsu Lake road network in the Busumchi municipality of the Ashanti region, bringing relief to residents and road users who had endured months of dust, delays and inconvenience. There's more in this report.
After years of uncertainty, the contractor is back on site on the Lake Road. The road is undergoing reshaping ahead of asphalt surfacing. For residents along the stretch, the return of the contractor is a welcoming news, but they want the relief to be permanent.
No me slan so mungus no monya my said a bear, ye can says they want to repining foot on it. Yes, slow ma, woman be a kama.
Once I want to put through a wuraya demonyago, and I also creatino, and opa one, as a cano. It be maha, would be a quota or I know my side. I was in Woodrow so that if I'm a cup of Pabiama. It has over to Janaha, Caribbean, what do you cook? The area will create mass of my baby.
The Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe, Dr. Yaose Buchum, during an inspection, said the road project is critical not only to residents, but also to tourism, with Lake Bosomtwe serving as one of the region's major sites.
Great progress is being made, and I'm grateful to the current Minister for Roads and Highways. He promised me that it will be done, and it is being done. We know that Bosomtwe, the lake, is a very important tourist center. We did all the way to Abidjan Kwanta. The new government is continuing, and I'm very grateful to them. And I think at the end of the day, tourism is going to get a great boost, and people are going to be happy that the politicians of this nation do not abandon the work of one government, but they come together. So this is a very good example of what is good when we work together as two governments.
The road connecting Feyase to the Ashanti Regional Hospital in Seria has already been asphalted, while work on the Seria Junction to the Seria Township stretch is said to be about halfway complete. For Dr. Educhum, the continuation of projects initiated by previous administration demonstrates the importance of political cooperation in delivering development. With the project back on track, attention now turns to sustained progress and timely completion. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Ashanti Region.
And still on road-related issues, some victims of the August 13 multi-vehicle crash at Ofanko Barrier are still recovering from the injuries. 12-year-old Angelina Na Adoko, who lost both legs, and her father in the crash, is appealing for urgent support as she adjusts to her new reality. Now, 3 other victims were taken to the Ga East Municipal Hospital. 2 have been discharged, while Naomi Amidu is stable but needs financial support for her treatment. Meanwhile, 2 of the 4 victims admitted to the Ochimota Hospital have been transferred to the Ridge Hospital, while the remaining 2 have been discharged. Nura Mohammed has the rest of the story.
Sorry. In excruciating pain at the Ga East Municipal Hospital, young Angelina has been calling for her father every day since the accident. She does not know that he did not survive the crash. Doctors say she is severely traumatized and is receiving psychological support alongside treatment for her physical injuries. According to her aunt, Sandra, Angelina had joined her ailing father on an early morning trip when the accident occurred.
Wednesday, I also home fano. Tia bonko kakra means my friend my yakasa kakra. Enti anopa my friend ebisa ne say ne ho to say. But my friend na yemfa.
I spoke with him the day before. He said he wasn't well. So I called the next morning to check on him, but he wouldn't pick his phone.
And we'll bring you the full report later. That's it for the Madanis. You're on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to srinews.com for more news. Coming up shortly is Business Daily. Bismarck Awisa is on standby.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up, 24-hour Economy Secretariat to roll out $400 million SME financing program. We'll hear from the executive.
Our strategy is to work with Development Bank of Ghana. They have access to development finance. Development finance can be very patient. They are also cheaper than normal rate, and they allow the SMEs to be able to build their equity.
Also ahead, Ghana Stock Exchange equities market records 73% year-to-date gain as trading activity doubles on stronger investor participation and renewed confidence.
As at yesterday, the GSE equities index closed up 73% year-to-date. John, I don't think it's that good in South Africa.
Plus, Bank of Ghana strengthens oversight as country advances preparations for effective implementation of non-interest banking and finance.
NIFAC shall serve as the Bank of Ghana's advisory council on the governance of non-interest banking and finance.
We'll bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The 24-hour Economy Secretariat is preparing to roll out a $400 million financing program to support small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, with the funding expected to translate into about 4 billion cedis. The financing will be provided through the Development Bank Ghana and channeled to eligible SMEs through commercial banks. The program is expected to offer long-term loans at interest rates below the current average of 15%, providing businesses with more affordable access to capital. Director and Head of Innovative Finance, Partnership and Markets at the 24-hour Economy Secretariat, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu confirmed the development to 3 business. The initiative forms part of efforts by the Secretariat to improve access to affordable finance and support the growth and expansion of SMEs under the government's 24-hour economy agenda.
Our strategy is to work with Development Bank of Ghana. They have access to development finance. Development finance can be very patient. They are also cheaper than normal rate, and they allow the SMEs to be able to build their equity and continue to invest in their own production and so on. So we are working with DBG to set up the SME facility, and our target at the beginning of the program, we have said that look, we want to be able to build at least $1 billion USD of that, which is about 10 billion Ghana cedis. So our target is at least that amount over the course of 4 years to build that SME facility. At the moment, we are very certain that we'll be able to raise in excess of 400 million USD, which is 40 billion Ghana cedis. And that would then be on lent through the commercial banks. This will become a patient capital, much cheaper than what is on the rate, and it also will give you some 3 to 5 years to be able to pay back.
You heard Director and Head of Innovative Finance, Partnership and Markets at the 24-hour Economy Secretariat, Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu. Moving on, the equities market of the Ghana Stock Exchange has recorded a 73% year-to-date gain, placing it among the strongest performing equity markets globally, while trading activity has also doubled compared with the same period last year. The Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abena Amoah, says the strong performance reflects growing investor participation and renewed activity on Ghana's capital market. Speaking at the launch of the updated GSE Environmental, Social and Governance Manual, she said the equities index had closed 73% higher as of August 18, 2026, signaling increased investor confidence in the local market.
We are also seeing that we are attracting new investors onto the market. As at yesterday, the GSE equities index closed up 73% year to date. John, I don't think it's that good in South Africa. This performance indicates that we are one of the best performing in the world, though we have only 39 companies listed, of which 3 just came in the last 6 months. The financial stock index is equally up 73%. The volumes traded and values traded have doubled compared to where we were the same period last year. We are seeing retail investors actively participating in the market. Last year, the average trades executed in a month was about 25,000 trades. This year, we are seeing 300,000 trades executed per month. The market has shifted.
And that was Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamua, speaking at the launch of the updated Ghana Stock Exchange Environmental, Social and Governance Manual. Moving on, the Bank of Ghana is stepping up preparations for the effective implementation of non-interest banking and finance, with measures being developed to ensure strong supervision and sound governance. As a result, the Central Bank has inaugurated a 5-member Financial Advisory Council, known as NIFAC, to provide expert advice on the regulation and development of the alternative banking and finance model in Ghana. Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama says the council will help ensure strong governance as non-interest finance expands while protecting consumers and financial stability.
NIFAC shall serve as the Bank of Ghana's advisory council on the governance of non-interest banking and finance, and is mandated to advise the Bank of Ghana on matters that are relating to the regulation and supervision of non-interest banking institutions in Ghana.
Bank of Ghana advisor on non-interest banking and finance, Professor John Gachi, says the council's selection was guided by expertise. This is still Business Daily on 3FM 92. This is still Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Osa. Before we go, Budget Ghana has called on government to use the 2027 budget to widen the tax base, strengthen transparency in the Big Push infrastructure program, and provide clearer implementation plans for major social interventions. Country lead of Budget Ghana, Jennifer Moffat, says government must move away from repeatedly taxing already compliant citizens and focus more on identifying wealth and economic activity outside the formal tax system. The following 3 Business News Desk reports has the rest of the story.
The organization is proposing stronger use of data from agencies such as the Lands Commission and the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority to match property and luxury vehicle ownership with declared incomes. Budget Ghana also want improved taxation of international digital and platform businesses generating revenue from Ghana, while cautioning against reforms that could place excessive burdens on informal operators or consumers. On infrastructure, the group is demanding real-time publication of information on Big Push project, including contractors, locations, timelines, procurement arrangement, and sources of financing. It is also calling for a phased approach to the construction of the 24-hour market based on local demand, security, and commercial viability. For Agenda 111, Budget Ghana wants a clear roadmap for completing the remaining 10 unfinished hospitals while seeking greater clarity on access and operations under the proposed Women's Development Bank. The organization says stronger accountability must accompany increased public spending to prevent unfinished project waste and poor value for money.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Budget Ghana calling for wider tax net and stronger accountability in 2027 budget. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Osa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Thanks for your company.